Alright, so we're gonna tier all of the new things. I'm sure you read the title. My tiers are things that are strong already and will get stronger over time. Things that are maybe not top tier yet. They're maybe not as flexible either, but we know that they're getting tools to be stronger. Or they need very minimal tools to become top tier. These are ones that are good, but maybe outclassed in the future, or aren't getting as many tools as the other decks, so they might already be like glued to a certain playstyle and have a hard time without getting like something like a just some straight power creep on their type, then they, you know, probably won't get any better. This category is things that just like if they get certain tools, then they could be really good, or but they might not hit top tier, or like the tools aren't super likely. These are cards that just like probably will never see play, but they're not completely outclassed. They're niche. Maybe their niche could get bigger or better, but we're not expecting it. So, anyways, I guess let's just hop right into it. Um, I've got my own order, so I'll do it this way. We're gonna start with Taurus Dragon. Um, I think it's easier to move things in this current, I guess, version. We're getting cards like Astaroth um, and Binding. So setting things up for Taurus Dragon might be a little bit easier nowadays. Same thing with like Nebuel's coming. I don't know if it'll ever be run in a Taurus Dragon deck. Seems like it might just be a king, but there's some things to consider there. The only thing is it does have to compete with Fireflower Hydra, which I don't have these in my tier maker, but I will talk about and add, well, like talk about them. Um, so yeah, it's somewhat competing with Fireflower Hydra. Obviously, like Wings has been nerfed, and a bunch of other movement cards might be difficult to get. But I think this is still a strong deck. Um, I don't know that I would say it's going to stagnate. I think it's going to get better. So I guess it goes in the top category. It's going to be like the last in the top category because I do think it's getting tools, and I don't think it's like maybe it's here. It's not super top tier oppressive quite yet, and it actually is going to have to compete with some other cards that I'll talk about later. The one nice thing is that it has like insane health, which is pretty much like aggro can't hurt it, and so that's kind of useful. Okay, I also wanted to talk about Northern Giant a little bit. It's like this card, but on a budget. Um, it's you can use it until you get this card. It's 100% outclassed, so that's kind of I didn't include it in the Kings, but there might be like a world where it's played, but you can also run Taurus Dragon or Northern Giant in a Taurus Dragon deck, and that's worth considering too. With better mana cards, Taurus Dragon might actually be buffed because we've got cards that I mean, like Northern Giant can be popped down for 22 each or attack, something like that. And it synergizes well with the Force, which again, we might be getting more Force. Force is getting better, so maybe this will be a good card. Okay, we'll talk about Cosmos Dragon. That's this one, I think. um, I also think that this is really legit with any movement. Astaroth and stuff helps it control space. Um, you used to have a problem. I should have Epic Pen open. Sorry, this is going to be a drawing video again. So you used to have a problem where I don't have a grid. I guess these two are my grid for now. Um, you hit them and then they're now on crystal. But if you have like an Astaroth here, then they're going to go. here, and you're going to go here. So they're off the crystal, right? So that can be useful. You can also just put the Astaroth here, and then they go back here, and you go here. So, I mean, if they go back to the crystal, you can just hit them again. Um, and of course, the Astaroth will push them away. So you actually can't hit them again. But the Astaroth will push them off the crystal, and then you can like place a card on the crystal and just swing in a turn. So yeah, I think that like Astaroth is a good card to combo with this card. I think Binding is another card that, you know, if we get like a reverse Binding, that would be sick for this card. But the ability to choose what enters your space through like Binding, Tornado, Astaroth kind of cards is really good, and those cards tend to be Astral, and obviously this is an Astral card. We also are going to have to look at Nebuel. This card might be competing with Nebuel, but I think it's pretty good with the movements. I also think that you can like this deck basically aggro is going to be having a really hard time with this card, just because it is dual zigzag. It does happen to have crystals, so if we're expecting some sort of like, if people are going to be playing Mantis because for some reason bugs are just super popular, this card is probably really good against Mantis, for example. Or, well, this king with the expected kind of space controlling Astral deck. So yeah, I think this card is one to really look out for in the next patch. And if you're looking for cards to try to solve, this is one that I'm definitely going to be looking at. Another one I'm going to be looking at is Desire's Guardian. Um, I think, I mean, obviously the exchange combo, it's really good anti-aggro. Um, hmm. It also is like a pretty solid late game card. Obviously, that's when it can actually do what it does. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's good early, it's good late. Problem is it's just not consistent in either of them. So what tools does it really need? I think if we get more exchange type things, if we get more things that we can use to take advantage of our controlled units, that could be really sick. Um, I also think things like Astaroth are good at creating some like anti-aggro space, which might keep like it'll let our card move without having to actually waste any time moving, right? He can just keep building up mana, and like Astaroth is there just being like a gatekeeper. Um, we obviously don't have the whole set, but tools that allow for better bodyguarding or faster mana will make this better. So I could argue that we are already likely to get good tools to make this card pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna do it. No, I'm gonna put it here. Hmm. Yeah, I am. Cause like if if they happen, it could be good, but it does need something kind of specific, and we're not gonna count on it. It's not like these cards where like kind of anything in their wheelhouse will do. Okay, as I put it at this tier because I think I don't know, I don't see it getting much better. Like it's already kind of got its niche. We know it's getting a bit of a nerf. I haven't used it because I don't have it. But if it's going to get nerfed, and demons probably aren't getting much better. I mean, they've already nerfed Shadow Lurker. So I think for now we have to keep it here, and we'll just wait and see if they manage to add some other demons. But yeah, for now, I don't think it's going to get much better. It's going to stagnate, and I don't think it's bad enough that it like this tier is almost better than this tier because it has potential, but like it's more variance. It's expected to be on average worse. So I'm gonna put it here, if that makes any sense. Okay, let's talk about Stardust Regent. Obviously, it is not great. One nice thing is that it's the only kind of viable shoot king. And it is very expensive, so starting it as a king will give you a 50 mana head start over not having a king. But like it's yeah. Um, the easiest way to get a regent is king. The thing is, its shoot isn't that strong. Like some of these kings have like 20 to 30 health. I mean attack, somewhere in that range. But um, this card I think it's like 17 or something, right? It might be 21. The other thing, obviously, is that it has 38 HP. So it's pretty weak to aggressive attacks. And again, I'm expecting to use some sort of like space controlling astral package. I had a list, but I don't know where it is. But again, I'm gonna throw out the word Astaroth again and again. I think it's an okay card. Um, but I think that this card is definitely still not good enough to be a king. It would need, I think, for tools to make it viable, it would need some good, like a barrier type thing that's kind of cheaper and better, or like some more Astaroth type cards that are big and just protect your king. The problem, of course, with Astaroth is that he actually pushes your king away, so he's not the best bodyguard. Um, but yeah, I think you can make some sort of astral space control with like Nebulous. Is that what it's called? The circle guy who omni slashes everywhere around him. Um, I think that like you can like throw some Nebulous, Astaroth, like a bunch of just like cards, and like the pattern for your cards would be like, here's your grid. You'd have like a card here and like a Knight's Jump away. You'd have cards so that anybody in the middle would get like pushed Astaroth wise into range of another card, and then those other cards would just Omni Slash and hit them. I know my grid is kind of hard to see, but if you have a Knight's move and a 2 space OA, then you will always be able to attack, right? And if you can set up some sort of like, you only need like half this minefield. If you can set up like this shape with your king being, I guess it would be here. Your king is controlling this kind of space, and they just can't get in because even if they come in, then you're getting hit by like I don't know these cards. So yeah, I think that like, there's ways you can make some sort of like fortress deck with this card, but it's kind of unrealistic that we're gonna get anything to make it strong. And also, I think that Desire's Guardian might even just make a better fortress deck, and maybe even this card would. Hard to say. Doesn't have as long of a range. Okay, what's next on our list? Dream Drake. Okay. My hot take is that Dream Drake is really weak as an aggro card. Um, that I think that people overuse it as an aggro card. It's not obviously you can't use it turn one. I think that Dual Zigzag's bad, but that's what it used to be used for. I think, however, that there are some specific tools that could arrive and make Dream Drake good. So currently, obviously, it has terrible attack. I think it's like 14 or 15. No dueling power at all. But if we have a lot of movement cards and we can just like again we got like the whole like Astaroth Nebulous package. Um keep the force and everything. It's the only dual zigzag movement card. I don't know if there's some dual zigzag shoots coming, but if you just keep positioning it to hit the enemy king, it hits the enemy king, and then you reposition it far away. That's pretty good. So like this thing can like snipe really hard. I think you could make some sort of attrition deck, but it is going to need some sort of survivability or some space control to actually allow you to have this kind of fortress that your opponent can't leave or can't penetrate, and that's the hardest part. So we'll have to see. It may involve like you spend the first couple turns dual zigzagging around the map and just not getting hit or getting hit for as minimal damage as you can, and then you get as much mana as you can in those turns while you're just running around, and then eventually you pop something that like a regent even maybe that creates like a bit of a safe haven for you. But yeah, overall, I think Dream Drake could get some tools that make an okay deck, but as of right now, it's not looking likely. It needs too many things. Okay, Zara. It's just obviously it's the go-to for any elemental deck. I still play at Wasteland. People play Plant Zera. People play Oasis, obviously. People play uh, Lava Zera or whatever, Scorch Zera. So, yeah, I think that overall, like, it's just any elemental cards that come out, you're gonna look at like as long as they're not like super expensive, and even if they are, you might be looking at Zera as the king. It's just super good to be able to use the naturally spawning oases to get mana and then accelerate into whatever you're going to like whatever terrain you want later. Obviously, Zera does have some weak elements like ocean and swamp, but there's no chance that Zera isn't going to be worth playing around with. Now it might get outclassed in certain areas, like it has in Aqua, and maybe Crystal. I don't know. I guess this would be a Crystal deck, but I don't know what to think about Crystal Zera honestly. But like Wasteland, I know that there's another Wasteland King coming. I know some people have liked the current Wasteland King that's out. Um, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I didn't get it, so that. Okay, we're gonna talk about Chimera. I'm gonna actually make a bit of another hot take. Chimera is a very aggressive king. We all agree. It has dual terrain type advantage. It's got some awesome matchups, mostly being insects and scorched. This thing here doesn't like Chimera. Chimera, yeah, I think it's just actually the best aggro king. So yeah, that. I mean, some people are going to talk about Shenlong, but that's the next card. We'll talk about it in a second. It has better attack and health than Deep Space Warrior. The movement type 4 isn't optimal. 5 would be better. 6 would be better. I think 5 is no. I think you can get 6 across the diagonal. Doesn't matter. I think that there's definitely a world where you run Deep Space Warrior aggro over it, or you run Shenlong over it. They play differently, but I think Chimera could, with specific tools, just be a really strong aggro deck. I mean, it already is good with what's the bog? It has 2 attack now. Um, it puts the enemy on a swamp when it attacks. It's a plant. It's giant something, I think. Anyways, that card there. You get 7 damage from that, and then they're on a swamp, so you get more damage from Chimera. I think the Chimera, if we ever get like a ladder, and we ever get like, enough people to just queue onto a ladder and just go boom, 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 I think this would be one of the best decks for grinding elo, because it just has enough good matchups that you just grind it, and the games are quick enough that it doesn't matter. Now for tournament play, obviously that's not the playstyle you want, but I still think that with specific tools, Chimera would work quite well. Okay, Shenlong. This is excellent aggro card. Um, yeah, it's different aggro in my opinion. I think like because they can always just run away, you have to like go for the mana, go for some like fork style things. But it has huge health, which obviously is an upside. And I think again that there's probably going to be more ways to influence where you go. You can kind of like use an Astaroth or something. Again, I wish there was like a reverse Astaroth. Might come, might not. Um, but yeah, I think that that's something to look out for. Volcano. I actually, I'm actually gonna put it here. So here's my thought. It's generally weak to aggro, right? We agree. I've just talked about a whole bunch of cards that are good against aggro. Um, and it's clear that aggro isn't exactly something that we want, but we'll see. Um, Personally, I like aggro as a concept, but whatever. So its weakness may or may not, like, I know I just said a bunch of things are good because they're good against aggro, so I won't, like, this is kind of like a shallow meta read that aggro won't be super popular, so we'll have to see. But anyways, I think that there might be some stronger early game defensive cards. Again, I'll keep talking about Astaroth because in this specific deck, Volcano is rooted, right? So if your Volcano is here, you've got an Astaroth here, you're spawning minions here, they're going up here. So you get like actual like free speed and movement to send your units into battle. So you don't even need to start like warping your Volcano forward anymore. As long as you've got like an Astaroth set up and, you know, various like you can use binding on one of these cards and just send it, you know? Um you can even just play a card and then use binding on it and send it away. Oh wait, no, it's opponent king. Hmm. But you can use binding defensively for Volcano, and that's kind of sick too. Interesting. Anyways, I think that Volcano is going to get some cool tools, and I'm actually really interested. The need to kind of use minions though is a bit of a downside. So, like, what I mean by that is like you have to kind of drop like Astaroth, and you have to like use your little guys to go at them, and like you can't like you have no king presence, right? Your king presence is attrition. So you can't like you can never play kind of very well into dueling decks. That sort of I mean they it doesn't really matter if they sledge you, but they just kind of go at you with like wraith blades and all that. So they're not super popular as of right now. The other big weakness, of course, is Shenlong. Shenlong just denominates Volcano. So there's some bad matchups, but I think that we can make it interesting. A binding on Shenlong would probably stop that. I don't know if you can bind a king actually. I think you can. Okay, Gamester. It's not even here. So I think so. The thing with Gamester, I was gonna put it down here and not viable. Tools are unrealistic. The idea with Gamester is like usually you just die turn one because the enemy can always hit you turn one basically. I don't know that that's the case in every deck anymore. Um, Zera decks and stuff can't always get to you turn one. But the other thing is you need to be able to rush to barrier or something. Like Gamester does need more survivability tools to ever be viable. And I think that if the survivability tools for Gamester arrive ever, I mean Obelisk is the other big one, but if you get something that makes you not able to be one shot turn one, then it's just insane. Like if Gamester started with a barrier, that would never be okay because if you place it, then barrier Gamester would just be OP. But yeah, so basically, um, my thinking is like if we get another obelisk type card, um, hmm, something like that, it can actually be a really dangerous tempo deck. Like you can play obelisk mana turn one. If they don't if they don't kill your obelisk, then you just play like a zero cost, some sort of stall deck maybe, or card like Astaroth. um, you know, you can even like, not really, but yeah. So you can play some sort of like stall cards and a minion. another mana card maybe, you can just get mana super quick. So if your Gamester doesn't die, it's kind of fun. But again, you do tend to die turn one, so that's how it be. I wasn't gonna recommend playing it. Crystal Sage. It's currently the best Mage King, but ever since they removed the ability to spawn uh, the the Archons, I don't understand it. Like you used to be able to get a lot of quick mana with exchange. Nowadays, I mean, there's Lightning, but Lightning got changed. Uh, I don't know if like this is still the best Mage King, but I think that like the tools to make this viable are tough. Like, yeah, I think that what would happen is just you'd get another king. So that's a rough time. What else we got? Bog Dweller. Um, I think it's a fine aggro card. That's about it. It's probably the best Swamp King if we're not including insects. Like if we're not talking about like an insect only deck, you just run this instead of running like this. But I'm actually wondering because Mantis Queen or whatever it's called came out. Is it better in like a swamp deck to just go insect? It might be. It might not though. So yeah, I think that's an interesting card to think about. But I think I don't see it getting any tools. You know, like all it needs is like I guess more terrain changes. It needs some sort of way to be more swampy because right now you can play swamp aggro with Chimera and just always have the movement type of this guy, or you can play, you know, insect queen and like have the burst. Now the other thing I can think of with this deck is obviously like the Bog Dweller Duelist deck. If that sort of comes back, that would be pretty cool. So I'll keep it in Stagnate right now, just because like I think the tools it needs some somewhat specific and unlikely tools to arrive. But like I don't think it's likely to be getting tools to be great, but I think it's still good. I just think it will stagnate. Okay, did we talk about Deep Space yet? Okay, I like Deep Space. I think it's going to get the tools to be great. Because the movement stuff is good. Like you can, Astaroth, Nebuwhale type stuff. I swear I know all the other cards. Um, but yeah, like all these other tools that could be coming that allow for movement, I think can be good. And like we're getting a lot of good space control. So the two sort of brands of deep space are your kind of like weave, where you come out, swing, force back, pop an Astaroth, force yourself back again, force him back. That's kind of sick. Um, but yeah, like weave. And then your other mode is aggro, right? It's the only straight line card. So you hit them turn one, you plop a card that possibly moves them, and you just keep going. So that's kind of sick. I Obviously it has hideous stats, and stats are one thing that can't change. So like if 1,000 other supportive cards were added, I don't know if it has the stats to do anything. It would probably like lose, right? Because everything else has the support it needs. But I do think that like it does have good movement, and there's not enough supportive cards, so like the utility it has is super useful. I'm trying to think like wings got removed basically for this deck. So it that's another tool that like it doesn't need too many tools, right? If enough ways to hinder your opponent's movement or yeah, or to move yourself come, then this card could be a cool king. obviously, it also looks like Astral is going to be like somewhat of a theme in the new. I mean, everything is, but Astral's going to be a pretty fun theme in the new expansion. But it will have to compete with stuff like Nebuel and is there anything else? Let me quickly check the pins in the general actually. Okay. What other cards is it obviously competing with? None, actually. Cool. Yeah, I was thinking of like Trench Wraith or something, but that's not. That's a different type. Okay. Next card is Aqua Hydra. So Aqua Hydra is an Aqua card. Aqua is like it's pretty much the only Aqua King, right? Oh wait, Shock Leviathan's not on this list. Well, I'll complain about that later. But yeah, so I think it is like the most generic Aqua King. I'll talk about Shock Levy next. Easy flooding means that pretty much you can just throw any other like water cards onto it and it just works. So I could see like Nebuwhale if it has Aqua bonus, Muck Jumper. Yeah, I think Muck Jumper would be a really cool addition. It's definitely not like a king. Again, Trench Wraith. I don't know why the squid is called Trench Wraith, but Trench Wraith could be cool. It adds more space. So like Aqua's getting some like confirmed good cards. So that's pretty cool. But now it's time to talk about Shock Leviathan. So Shock Leviathan, the tools that it needs are like this card needs just bigger cards, right? Uh, the 20 mana card that is like smaller, it's like a Nautilus or something. I'm sorry, it's been a while. That card there is just like, like big beefy unit. And we just need more cards like that. But the problem is it kind of has that, right? But Shock Leviathan, what does Shock Leviathan need? It needs easier oceans. You know what's easier oceans? Trench Wraith. It's an Undying Aquatic and it spawns oceans on play. So that could be really cool. I also don't know about Mud Jumper, whether that's or Muck Jumper, sorry, whether that's going to be good for Shock Leviathan or not. But yeah, my thoughts are easier oceans sounds pretty good. So I think Shock Leviathan is like in the look out for it category. If we get some more Aqua cards, maybe a little bit of survivability because the other problem is that Shock Leviathan only has 47 health and it hurts all your minions. So need to somehow figure out a way to either like shoot oceans farther or to like if we get like an ocean portal and then we play the Wraith Trench Wraith, I'm sorry. Then that would be pretty cool. Could get some sort of like snipes with Shock Leviathan, but otherwise you're gonna be hurting all your minions. So figuring out like if there's a way to like get some crystals in an Aqua deck, that would be kind of cool. Okay, let's talk about Vampire Progenitor or like temporary crystal kind of effects. So that would be kind of funny or interesting. Mana Miner will make crystal decks more interesting, and actually Crystal Capture might make duelist decks more interesting. In fact, I could even put this, whatever, I'll leave it here for now. Crystal Capture is honestly just awesome for Shenlong and for D-Space too, in theory. Okay, let's talk about Vampire Progenitor. That's this one. I think this is the best Undead King. We've got all three of them here, but the thing with Progenitor is it's self-sufficient, right? And that means that it doesn't need any tools, it just is a deck. Which, when we're talking about potential, is arguably bad. But the thing is, like, what Undying is there? Like, we've got, like, the Vampire Lord and various other things, but most Undying doesn't seem to get used. So, I don't remember if Shura's been like revealed, like what he does. Um, I don't know if I mean, I guess Trench Wraith has been revealed any more than he adds Aqua. It doesn't seem like we're getting any great cards, but honestly, if we get like just one Undying strong card, then Progenitor can use it pretty well. So I think he's not going to be terrible. He has some sort of potential. It's just like, you know? Okay. Now, Crypt King, on the other hand, he's slower. He has much lower attack. His Reincarnate is, you know, doesn't come with an ability to activate it, but he's got some cool things. Like the team kill is really good for setting up combos. So, oh sorry, yeah, not Reincarnate is the team kill. That's really good for setting up combos. His resurrection obviously exists, but he needs tools to make things undead, or he just needs good undeads to reincarnate. So I don't see those tools coming, but I think he's kind of equally viable as Progenitor. I mean, he's definitely somewhere in this or this. So, like his potential is low. I'll put him in the higher one just because I think he is viable, and who knows, we might get another version of Trigger Happy or something. Vamp Unleashed, I think it will go. Mm, it's tough. I think it's just likely to be outclassed, right? I mean, it needs a resurrect of some sort, which it can have. But the thing is, the health from Vamp Unleashed doesn't usually help you win. It doesn't, like, the movement type isn't super creative. I don't see anything super good going for Vamp Unleashed. And I don't, like, what tools will make it viable compared to these cards? It would just need, like, cards that resurrect so often that your king doesn't have to. Are we getting anything like that? Do we know what Descent does? Hmm. Yeah, for now I'm going to put it down here. To be fair, there is a card called Greater Resurrection, but I think that that's a demon card. Okay, my last card that I wait, I didn't talk about. Oh, I didn't talk about this because it's likely to be outclassed. Yeah, same thing with this one. So this one, it's obviously an aggro deck, or it needs like insane survivability. But if insane survivability comes out, um, we're looking at deep space. We could be looking at this. We could be looking at this. We're looking at this for sure, depending on how good the survivability is. We could be looking at this. This card is just super aggro, and I think Deep Space would outclass it. I think Bog Dweller could outclass it. I think Shenlong could outclass it. So I feel like this card is likely to be outclassed, and obviously we're getting a bunch of new kings. The movement cards like Astaroth or something can help it, but not easily. It's hard to summon an Astaroth on your opponent's turn, so they're usually going to be able to get out. Excuse me. Last card that I own on this list is Shadow Lurker. Its stats are terrible. It's kind of been changed a bit, but it can hop around a lot of demons. So I guess if there's some good like burst demons, then you can like hop in and burst them, like just summon and burst. But the problem is that As exists, so As is kind of just gonna outclass this card. Being jumpy isn't all that useful generally. So yeah. Okay. Now onto the cards that I don't own or that are new. We'll start with Fireflower Hydra. I haven't played it, but I think it's comparable to Taurus Dragon in like how good it is. It's possibly the best Scorch card, although Zera exists. And that's kind of everything I can say about it without having played it. It's hard to say that like it's currently good, but it's going to stagnate. It's actually I'm gonna pencil these in. This might be a terrible idea. Okay. There was another one I put in. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Oh, Shock Levy. Did I put it up here or here? Oh well. Doesn't matter. Okay. So yeah, it's hard to put Fireflower Hydra into a tier. So maybe I just won't. Mantis Empress, on the other hand, we have a bit more, or I have a bit more experience with. I think it's just by far the best Insect King. So that's gonna go up somewhere here. I didn't talk about this card. It outclasses these cards so hard. The other one obviously is Great Oak Spider, which the portal is kind of cool, but Mantis Empress is still just super good. The movement type works really well with these cards because, you know, 2 space can be supported by a Knight's Move. You also can, like, if there's a card in your kind of pocket of your Knight's Move, you can pop a 2 space and it'll hit it. You can also pop a 2 space back here and it'll hit it. You can also pop a 2 space back here. You've got a lot of angles to attack. So, like, at short range, bugs are just kind of cool. What else about Mantis Empress? Oh yeah, health is 62, so that's one higher than Bog Dweller or Zera. So that's just kind of insane. And that's actually really good because you're not hitting very often, right? Like, this angle is difficult. Your opponents will often be in your pocket, or one away, or right here, or right here. And they'll sometimes be here. So, I mean, here's kind of weird. What you're expecting is you're going to move in, and then you're going to swing with a card that you drop. And you're just going to let your units do more damage than they can do to your king. So health is more important than attack. And her health is good. And her attack at 17 is fine. So that, I think that her stats and everything are really good. And so, I don't know. She's probably going to be likely getting the tools to be great. Already good. I mean, what insects are coming? That's the other problem. Like, is Winsect going to be a king? Is it something that we can swarm? That's something to think about. And then, are we even getting other insects? Oh yeah, Entangled. I think Entangled is a little bit just not a great card. But I think if there's one card that, or one king that uses it, it's Mantis Empress, obviously. So, worth looking at. Alright, Star Eater. This is a card that I just don't have, so I haven't gotten to really talk about it, but I think it's underused right now. It used to be a really good control card. I think it still is. The Force, obviously Force is good, but the thing is, it seems like we'll get more Force tools. We might not. I might be crazy. And if not, Force is going to be stronger, I think, especially with the... We've talked about this in balancing. If you have weird shoot patterns, you're going to have to force to attack at all. So, Force OP. My question is like, push won't be able to push this card, which kind of sucks. So, this card here is currently just a worse version of Star Eater. But in not very long, it could be the other way around, and that's what I want to look at, and that's what we'll have to watch for. So I think this one's going to stagnate, currently better. This card's worse, could get even better. Okay. Shenlong should probably be up here because it's already strong. It's just going to get tools to be stronger. Stormwraith. Yeah, so I don't like Tornado as a concept. I don't think it's terrible. It's pretty cool on Wasteland, if I'm going to be honest. But I think it needs some survival, right? I don't know its health, but it's kind of weak. So I think that with the right tools, this thing could be total monster. But it needs to be able to not destroy everything around it. It needs a bit of survival for itself because you're obviously going to be running Kaze and Geomancer. So I think like I might put it somewhere down here. Yeah, binding is an interesting tool too. Like I think there's chances that it will get tools. I just don't know if we can really say that it's likely getting tools to be great. Just because like it does still have to compete with Terra or not Terra Wasteland Zera, which, if you're not running all the everything near me dies package, that could be a thing. Um, there's also another Wasteland card coming, Chasm Crawler, and so we'll have to wait and see. The thing is, Wasteland is actually not getting any new cards, only new kings, as far as I can tell. Maybe like Saladin is going to be Wasteland or something, but I think he's Oasis, if he's anything. Or maybe Mage. But anyways, so I think that Wasteland will have some difficulties with getting cards. And so we'll have to see if Stormwraith gets the tools that he really needs, which again would just be kind of like more uh, kind of keeping himself alive. Survival cards, that's what it's called. Okay, I think I talked about all the cards that I know about. We can just like quickly chat about some of the new possible kings. I haven't. Oh wait, Ra is also a king. I haven't gotten to play with him, but he's obviously just like Oasis Zera, but Ra. Um, okay, actually, I'm gonna quickly go through. Like the point of this video was because people are going to play around with the new kings, and I want to like make some sort of list of like, hey, some sort of reference I should say of like, hey, we're going to talk about some old kings and see if they still have a place, what their niches will be, whatever, right? So I'm going to throw like real quick which one of these are going to get outclassed and which ones are going to stay. So Stormwraith, I actually don't think it will outclass, well, it can't outclass Zera, and there's no other king, so that's fine. Mantis Empress has outclassed this card, we're good. I don't know enough about Shura. Amalgam, probably going to outclass this card. In fact, I'm almost certain that this card is likely to get outclassed. I also am kind of pushing to make Paladin semi-king, like it could be both. Um, so this card just doesn't have any real niche anymore, so maybe I'll send it down. Nebuwhale will maybe outclass this. It's hard to say. It might even outclass Aqua. We'll have to see. It'll probably just be a different deck. Fireflower Hydra has already kind of outclassed this card, but I think they play so differently that it's not really worth comparing. And it's kind of also outclassed Fire's Era. But, so I actually find Hydra's kind of a greedy deck, and I don't think it will last. So I still keep Fire's Era over Fire Hydra, and I think that I keep Taurus Dragon around because Taurus Dragon is better for like hitting the king and taking advantage of movement cards, whereas Fireflower Hydra is really like it's almost like Volcano 2.0 with the free eruption, right? You just kind of put it in the middle and you just burn everything. So, hmm. Are there any other new kings? I don't know anything about Saladin. I think he's a mage, so that's even more reason this thing could be outclassed. We don't know anything about Anubis or Zaru, I don't think. Hmm. Stone Crusher. No, it can't be a king. terrible movement. Chasm Crawler also could outclass Stormwraith, or at least be a different playstyle. So that's one to look at. And I think that's all the kings coming, right? If Winsect is a king, it could push. I'm actually gonna put Mantis somewhere. I'll put her here. Hmm. Actually, no. We're not getting any new bugs, right? And like they're just kings. And the thing is that I don't see a world where Entangled is like the tool it needs. Oh shoot. Okay, cool. We'll put Mantis Queen in here for now. Okay, and there was one last card that I was going to talk about because we know about it. Oh well, Winsect um could be better than Mantis Queen. I don't know if we know enough about it. No, actually, this is it. So cool. I hope you enjoyed this more or less, and yeah, take care. It's been a pleasure.